Okay, so welcome to case study number one. All right, so
Hey,
I'm
brilliant.
super happy to have Paul with me, who has been working with me. It must be we must be nearly hitting a year,
It'll be, yeah, it's coming for a year in June. Yeah,
year in June. Yeah, 100%.
just like that.
Just it's gone. So Paul started with me just embracing a lot of free materials, free courses, kind of like dipping your toe in. Would you say?
Yes, yeah, fair, fair. Yeah.
Um, Kind of just seeing if this guy's a bell end or not a bell end. You thought it was a bell end anyway, but still went for it. Um, so have progressed right through all of my programs and everything, and now working with me like a very, very close level, almost your second wife in the top 1% club. Um, Paul, so Paul, we're just going to give an idea and talk about the case study about your journey, so that
Yeah.
other people can kind of get an idea about what the journey looks like,
Hmm.
some of the things it's done for you personally,
Hmm.
per se, and this just gives people an opportunity to learn more about that. So, the first
Sure.
that we're going to look at is that feeling before you joined me. So you might remember the first time that you kind of saw me online somewhere.
Yeah.
But feelings that you will have, let's say, kind of like building up to that point where you jumped the ship and jumped into our
Hmm.
world. What was
Hmm.
that? What was that like?
Um, it was kind of a looking back, I was I was in more need of what we do than I
Yeah,
realized at the time. I thought I just needed some tidying up around the edges and a little bit of kind of, a little bit of something. And I
yeah,
didn't actually, it's taken me a few months, took me a few months to realize, my God, I really do need
yeah,
quite a few things to change in my approach to life. To and I didn't really know what it was to stop. I knew there was something, there was an itch I couldn't scratch. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I do.
Um, so yeah, so that was kind of where I was on, you know, at the starting point. I
Okay.
knew I knew there was something, but I didn't quite know what.
You want to get in there. Um,
Yeah,
but when you can you remember how you kind of fell into our world on a lot? So we have these different phases, right? So
yeah,
we have the drift. So the drift
yeah,
is kind of like you're the boat with no sail and
yeah,
you're in the middle of the
yeah,
ocean. And then
yeah,
there is this disruption. So that's kind of like when my videos or me or my theories or my
yes,
mindset
yeah,
crash the world and disrupt your level of thinking, right? Can you remember
yeah.
how it started?
Yeah, I can. I kind of, as I say, it was about this time last year.
Yeah.
Um, I've been self-employed for 25 odd years, and business is great, but I had some, um, let's say, internal procedural inefficiencies with a key member of staff that
Yeah.
I'd let drift for 6 to 12 months longer than I should have done.
Yep.
After three kids had all sort of grown up and left home, and I just lost my dad a few weeks earlier, and I just felt that I was drifting in a comfort zone that, to a lot of people from the outside looking in, that's great, and it is great, but there was just too many little things not going the way in the pit of my stomach. I knew
Yeah.
I wanted them to go,
Yeah.
and yeah, just kind of seeing some of your promotional material and some of the key messaging kind of hit a chord. So I obviously made contact, had a chat with John, and quickly identified that probably the 1% model's the right place to come in at. And yeah, so you invited me along as a guest to one of the 1%
Yeah.
days,
Yeah.
and I obviously,
You did the 5 day before, didn't you? I'm sure you
yeah,
did
I did.
5 day,
Yeah, I did.
90
Yeah, I did a
days,
few years.
90
Yes, yeah,
day.
and also last June I came down to Bexhill,
Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah.
Eastbourne, and did the Saturday day down there, and I
Yeah.
kind of knew there and then I'm in the right route
You just
because
fall
it
into
just,
that pit, don't you? Because I think
mm,
would you agree that I've find this with a lot of guys, there's this resistance before pulling the trigger that I should be able to do this myself. Like I should or it's eventually going to get better.
yes, yes and no, and also, and I think once again we have to every now and then step back and realize that social media is great for this. That everybody shows you their best life,
Yeah.
and you think, well, my life could be better,
Yeah.
and it's great, but it could be better.
Yeah.
Um, and I said to you a number of times, I'm just wired that way. I'm, mid 50s, and I'm ramping up and getting more ambitious.
Yeah.
And a lot of my mates my age are retiring and semi-retiring, and they're
Yeah.
proud of it. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
I just don't know why. I mean, it's right for them, not right for me. So I thought, seeing, not just saying it, I'm blowing smoke up your ass, your integrity, your directness in a very, very, I find a very caring and supportive way, just what I needed.
Perfect.
You know,
Perfect.
I've
People
heard,
think
I've
quite
heard
a
of,
hard hitter, don't
yeah,
they? Sometimes, but I'm
they do,
actually
yeah.
quite softy.
I've heard a few home truths over the last year,
Yeah.
um,
But
and I needed to.
it's in a manner that reflects it. It's never a case of like there's a time for there's a time for tough love and a time for
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
that softened version. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, and I think it comes back to I remember saying when down in Eastbourne last June, I kind of the process we went through that day and the things we looked at and
Yeah.
so forth. I just kind of and it's stuck with me, and I've known it for years, but it's so true. In any walk of life, you're either growing or dying,
Yeah.
and the comfort zone thing is dying,
Dying. Yeah.
um, dying whilst trying to look good to other people,
Yeah.
you know.
100. Yeah.
So yeah, so yeah, I knew I needed something, and I found that something. And as I say, if I knew then what I know now,
Yeah. It's always that way, right?
um, it, yeah, I mean, I'm moving faster now than I thought I would,
Yeah.
but I didn't realize I needed to move as fast in the first place.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
know what I
Straight,
mean?
straight. But yeah.
It's
Yeah. I
you
think
don't
moving
know what you
one
don't know.
percent. I think the 1% is the 1% is that next level. It's like what you've
Yeah.
gained this year is probably more than you gained in the last 2 3
Well,
years in that speed.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I've literally our very first phone call. The decision I've been, kind of
Yes,
wrestling with
yes, 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 yes.
in a 15-20 minute phone call, you helped me make that decision
Yeah,
with a bit of tough love. All
yeah.
right, fucking pull the
I remember
pin
that.
and
I
do
remember
it.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that.
And equally, in that regard, you identified it, and it's so true. And I guess I didn't really want to admit it at the time. I was going through, I wouldn't say a midlife crisis. I was going through I got to that point where, the kids have left, they're 30, 28, 20, nearly 21. They don't need me day to day like they used to. My wife has got a good career, good job. She's into her sport, and it's kind of like suddenly, who am I? Where do I fit into the world?
Yeah,
And I'm too
intuition.
young, to settle.
Yep.
And it just kind of all came at once.
Yeah,
It just all came at once. So
yeah,
yeah, as I say, I needed to reinvent me, which actually hasn't been a reinvention of me. It's actually been some soul searching and understanding who I am, what I
yeah,
enjoy doing, and say, fuck it, I'm going to do more of that.
yeah.
You know,
I think
and
it's
that's
really
what's
good. I
happening.
think it's identity stacking, isn't it? It's kind of like
Yeah,
going these things are it kind of leads us into our next part. So when we think about I always called this the stats before. What was life
yeah,
like? What was some of the particular things that you were struggling? And we've talked about some of those
yeah,
feelings, like this is how I felt. What
hmm
were the direct problems? Were there issues with time management? Was there
yeah.
maybe a lack of direction? What were some of the things in your mind that really just stood out?
Well, yeah. Well, I guess at the time I didn't realize it, but time management, I wouldn't have said it was an issue. The issue was that because I've been self-employed for 25 years, I've got too much control over my time.
Yeah,
Yeah. So whether I get in the office at 8:30, 8:45, 9:30, unless I've got something to be here specifically for, unless I've got a commitment, an appointment, and nobody's holding me accountable. Nobody was holding me accountable to that side of things. And if I wanted to slope off for a morning or afternoon, and I could, then that's fine. And if I needed to play a little bit of catch up at the weekend with work, then I would.
yeah,
And I thought that was the right thing to do. That was the dividend for being self-employed.
yeah,
Um, but actually, um, that was a symptom of other thought processes, which is, we've all heard the saying, "Death by a thousand cuts." To me, complacency is a death by a thousand shortcuts.
yeah,
You can find a shortcut here, you find a shortcut there, and suddenly you try and do as little as you can
Yeah.
to get by, and that's okay every now and then. But when it becomes the norm, then everything else slips as well.
Yeah.
And
Do you find
suddenly,
you fell into chaos a little bit?
yeah, at times, and also times overwhelmed because I'd let things slide, and then I have to chaotically catch up and
Yeah.
put myself under unnecessary pressure.
Okay.
Um,
So one of the things that I noticed in terms of when we first met was how all of that affected probably your the primary aim of health, right? So one of our biggest
mm,
values,
mm,
right? One of our biggest values
mm,
is building success from home. And that
yeah,
doesn't just mean, oh, being at home, being a great husband, being
yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
great father. It means being fit and healthy, ready to lead
Hmm.
everybody, everything, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. Can you remember like any particular moments in your in that slow build up of that progress to the 1% and going through learning about yourself? Because when you go through
Yeah,
the journey of registering and you go like I'm in, you go
yeah,
through lots of learning lessons very, very quickly, don't you? And
yeah,
I particularly remember you going, God, I hate being over. I think you were like 2 stone overweight. Am I,
yeah,
and some
yeah,
like in
yeah,
London. We were in London
yeah,
and oh, I've just got to get rid of this.
yeah. Yeah, well, that's because I love my sport and exercise, and cycling is my passion. And I'd had an accident last April, and kind of was off the bike for a few
Yes.
weeks, and I lost a bit of
Yes.
confidence,
Yeah.
and another excuse. Um, so I took that as a great. This is going to be the thing. So I've been a member of a gym for 20 years, but I was a bit like being self-employed. I was doing what I wanted when I wanted to do it, and if I
Yeah.
didn't feel like doing it, I didn't do it. And really, what the program, the process, it gave me from day one is accountability. Checking in daily, saying, right, weekly, this is what I'm planning to do, and this is what
Yeah.
I did do. So now I was holding myself accountable and putting things in the diary and saying, well, actually, what does you know at my age, it's very important. I've realised that I've got to be the architect of my own health, fitness. My 25-year older version of me will thank me for the decisions I make today.
Yeah.
So now I have a standard. I want to go to the gym 3 times a week to do some strength work, and I want to spin my legs 3 times a week, be that spin class, Peloton, or out on the road, if, weather and everything permitting. And that's a framework now.
Yeah.
I've lost about a stone. I haven't been on a diet. But what I've actually done, I said, right, you know what? You know, you eat every day, exercise every day.
Yeah.
It's become a framework of my life. So what I've actually ended up doing is putting a framework in place that I've chosen,
Yeah.
but I hold myself accountable to. And I've tweaked and changed the times I go to the gym, and I've
Yeah.
come. It works for me at 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Do my morning routine Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Get to the gym. I can be showered when the change room's empty at 20 past 8 when everybody's buggered off to work, and I can be in here by 8:30.
Yeah. Nice. So it's
So
non-negotiable almost, isn't it?
yeah,
Often the thing that I look at what we do is we systemize your operational system,
mm,
the individual man, right? So it's like I
yeah,
think it's not something you kind of come in and we do all our accountability bits and everything, but
mm,
overall, it's about bringing a man into a system, and then that system almost molding itself to you
yeah,
reduces
yeah,
chaos and helps you gain more control, right?
yeah. And I think one of the bollockings you gave me down in London one day was about snoozing.
Yes.
Yeah, and I was
Okay.
like, okay, fair enough. And I took it on board, and I thought, well, there's no point in me coming and asking for your help and not taking it on board. So I
Yeah.
thought I'll give it a go. Previously, I've suffered with sleep issues, waking up in the night, can't get to sleep, stuff on my mind, all that kind of stuff. And actually, what I've found by default is by getting up at the same time every morning. I mean, I wear this Whoop thing, it vibrates.
Yeah.
And if I'm awake, I get out of bed. But if I'm not awake and it vibrates, I just sit up and I get up.
Yeah.
I get up, just do it.
Like a robot, isn't it?
I'm on autopilot.
A robot.
And there's been half a dozen times in the last month where I've got,
Yeah.
just get
Yeah.
up, pretend you're going to the airport on holiday. You do
Yeah.
it then.
Yeah.
And then, 5 minutes later, I'm awake, I'm downstairs doing my stretching.
Yeah.
And suddenly the
Yeah.
day's begun. And that has by default sorted my sleep out really, because I'm starting my body clock at the same time every day. So it's kind of, and I've
System.
tried, and I've tweaked times and whatever. And I found for me, 6 a.m. works. because I can do my
Quite
morning
late in the
routine.
afternoon, that though, isn't it?
I know. I've tried earlier, but once again, because I've got kids and stuff,
I'm
by the
joking.
time we finish
I
our,
know.
oh no, no, by the time we finish our day and my wife and I have, bite to eat,
Yeah,
we have an hour together. We're in bed by half nine, 10,
yeah.
but I was finding by 8 o'clock I was too
Gone.
knackered. So for
Yeah,
me, 6 o'clock works. I do my morning routine, get to the gym 3 times a week,
perfect.
and I've still got energy throughout the day to do the other things. So it's been a bit trial and error, but
Well,
those
that's
are
what it's
the
meant to be. That's what it's
yeah,
meant
those
to
have
be,
been,
right?
but it's the framework, it's the commitment, commitment to myself. So look,
Yeah,
Paul, you can't have those things you want unless you make some changes now.
100%.
Um, and I love it. I really enjoy it.
Good. Nice. So we're going to get on to, we've got two more kind of things to cover.
Yeah.
Um, so there is almost between the drift and the disruption and then the launch of you going into something. So
Mm.
what made you, why did you commit in the end? So what was the thing that in your head that just went, man, I'm just going to commit to this and let's go. What got you from what I always say, I'll see you on the other side. What brought you onto
Yeah.
that side?
I think the reality was or is that put up or shut up. Can't say I want all these things. I can't say I want to do all these things. I can't say I want to be this person
Yeah,
unless I get up without snooze,
yeah,
have a morning routine, have a plan for my week and my days. Yeah, some days not everything gets done, but the plan was, curveballs come, it's life. But if you don't know what you're planning to achieve,
yeah,
then you can't measure whether you're. And so actually, and I did this on holiday back in the last year as well. I actually come back to the identity thing. I actually just sat and wrote a list of all the things I really enjoy doing, the things I love doing. I mentioned to you even things like I love cooking, I love shopping. So I do most of the shopping and cooking in the home, and
yeah,
it's brought my wife and I together even
yeah,
more so. I mean, we're going out tomorrow evening. She's forgotten. I said to him, we're going out Tuesday. Wednesday night is date night for us.
yeah.
Okay. But tomorrow I said, we're going out Tuesday. She said, why? I said, well, I'm away Wednesday, so we're doing date night Tuesday. So 31st anniversary tomorrow. She's forgotten, right?
But
But
you never
it's
hear that. You never hear it that way much.
I know, but that's the person I want to be.
Yeah, you
That's the
want to
person I
lead.
want to be. So
It's the
so
leader.
I'm
You need to
living
lead them, right?
I'm living the life that's true for me
Yeah, yeah,
by actually having to do the things that it takes,
yeah,
whether I want to or not. Because at the end of the day, motivation lasts minutes.
yeah,
Discipline is where it's at. And I put my monthly thing, what could prevent me, doing it? Discipline, lack of discipline.
yeah, 100%.
It's that
And if
simple.
you open
So
it up, isn't it? Would you agree that
yeah,
you only have to let it in for a day? You let a
mm,
little crack in, and it just
mm,
overflows like a dam cracking and slow
hmm
breaking, right?
it,
Um,
but it's kind of to come back to your question. It was literally a case of, well, give myself the opportunity to. I want I, I want to look back. We all have regrets, but I want to regret doing things rather than not doing them.
yeah, yeah,
There's some things we look back and go, why did I do that? But missed opportunities, wasted chances,
yeah,
just have a go at life.
yeah, 100%. I agree. So we kind of come on to the last part, and it's about
Yeah,
the feeling and the stats after. So when you kind of look now, nearly 12 months on,
yeah,
what kind of feelings do you kind of tend to find yourself kind of facing with some of the things that you've achieved? And how does that compare to like a year ago? So in your mind, like I know we
yeah,
know that between us, but like
yeah.
if you can if you because I always say it takes you 12 months for a man to
Hmm.
fully
Hmm.
immerse himself into something because we've got years of undoing the way that we used to live,
Hmm.
our belief
Hmm.
system, our
Hmm.
vehicle of approach, the way that
Hmm.
we've shown up, the things that we've just kind of embedded. It takes almost
Yeah,
a year just to get to level zero, ready to
yeah,
start
yeah,
growing. Do
yeah.
you know what I mean? And
I
we
do.
had a
Yeah,
conversation, just an off script one, didn't we, about where we're going with
yeah,
this next. And then all of a
yeah,
sudden, it's this whole nother chapter.
yeah.
You wouldn't be. It's almost like you've got to do your 5, 10, your 5Ks, your 10Ks, your half marathons, and your marathons before you start thinking about ultras. And it's like
Mm.
you've got to go through the process, right? So feeling wise,
Hmm.
how do you feel about like yourself now?
I feel like the last year tidied up a lot of things that needed tidying up.
Yeah,
As I said, I didn't realize they did. it's to the point now where I feel like I am in control of what I'm doing,
Yeah.
and I've got a framework and a structure to build. I've got a platform to build on.
Yeah.
Nowhere near the finished article in any way, shape, or form. But most of what I do now is conscious decision and choice, and I even go into the weekends with purpose. And some weekends it's just to have fun.
Yeah.
But we've got a bank holiday weekend coming up, and Lucy and I, we've got some stuff going on at home. DIY, well, not DIY, somebody else is doing it, but it's some
Yeah.
stuff that needs doing. So we go right, every weekend. Go right. What things do we want to get done this weekend? So you end up
Yeah.
with a feeling of satisfaction
Yeah.
that
Fulfilled.
yeah, yes, I've got a desired outcome, and I know whether I've achieved it or not. So I get to the end of most days and weeks, do my weekly review, daily review, and go, as we do, how do we rate the day? And
Yeah.
if it's not as good as I want it to be, well, fine, make sure tomorrow is.
Yeah.
But it's kind of it's consciously putting in front of you what you feel in the pit of your stomach
Yeah.
and in your subconscious,
Yeah.
and say, if I chose to do that and I enjoyed it, then that was a successful day.
Yeah.
And if I chose to do something and I didn't do it, okay, that, that's another feeling altogether. So yeah, feeling a
Yeah.
lot. I feel better prepared
Yeah.
to be ambitious again.
It's mission. It's what would you call it? It's mission battle ready, as what
Yeah,
we say, right? You're ready to go in, right?
yeah,
And I
yeah.
think that is ultimately, I that's the way I always look at the outcomes for guys. What do I want them to be? And when we leave college or sometimes university, I don't believe that that men and women,
Mm,
like, but we're talking about men specifically here, are ready to integrate into normal life because there is no
mm,
education in that phase, right? We leave college,
no,
and then who teaches us all of this stuff? No one teaches us
yeah.
to manage time.
It's we
Teach
learn theory, don't we?
we learn theory, but we don't
Yeah.
learn practical. And I think this case study is one of those ones where you are already super successful. You're already doing really well. You've already got a great life, but it just goes to show that there are still elements of it that
Yeah,
are where there's cracks that we need to fill. And then we have a foundation where we want to grow more, right? So you've kind of
yeah,
got from that point where a year ago where we were frustrated with employees, with like drifting, with just
mm,
slow progress to now, man, we've tidied everything up. You've got a clear sense
mm,
of direction. You know exactly the
mm,
checkpoints you need to go. Boom, and you're off.
mm, mm.
Those two different types of that mission is unfulfilling and it's not taking us anywhere. This one, we're miles ahead, right?
Yeah, I agree, and I think it just comes down to the simple fact that what the process has taught me is to be true to myself,
Yeah,
and not I don't compare myself to other people.
yeah,
Some of the guys in the group are way more successful than I'll ever be, and it's actually nice to be in that company because you get that support as well,
yeah,
and it kind of opens my
yeah.
horizons to what it could be like. But then there's some things I really don't want to do that. I really don't want to do that, and that's okay because I come back to it's a conscious decision. But I feel like I've got the framework and the
Yeah,
base to go right, James. This is what I want to do next.
yeah,
What do we need to do? What
yeah,
do I need to do? Who do I need to be? How do I need to behave?
yeah.
What's holding me back? And it's just that
And I would
it's
say if this was a coaching session, I would tell
yeah,
you you aren't equally as successful as each other in there. And it's
yeah,
just in terms of business, in terms of
yeah,
empire size. But and
yeah.
I think that is I'm going to just pick you up on that just on this case study.
Go
This
on.
I don't
All
want
right.
to do
I'll take
anything
it. I'll take
because
it.
I don't want.
That's what I'm here
So,
for.
Paul, I just want to say thank you for coming on board.
Pleasure, mate. Pleasure. Thank you for all you
I
do.
think yeah, and thank you for being such a great case study and taking the time to come on. And I think it's nice when you do this, right? Like when we look back at
You,
your journey over the last year.
you, yeah, and I think also, I know also I should say, so I'm quite open with what we do with
Yeah,
my wife because we've got a
yeah,
great relationship like that, and she is really pleased with how things are going in our world.
yeah,
She's noticed some changes in me that she's really appreciates.
yeah.
Um, and so yeah, I mean that's kind of a
It's
probably
important.
the best endorsement because coming
Yeah,
back to the build the man
yeah,
first, and that's you know pull me to pieces, put me back together,
yeah.
and away we go.
100%.
and family getting the benefits of it.
100%. Mate, thank you so much for coming on. I really
Pleasure.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, guys, if you are watching, obviously in the description, there is a link for you to be able to join us on the program that we're running them out. It's the one that Paul started. It's one that any one of our guys started. Drills up the foundations of what you need. Just go and have a look at that. And then if you're interested, you can contact us and we will be in touch. Thank you for watching.